Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to edition 884. My gosh, I'm so impressed. 884 editions in the can. After this one, I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive. Larry, Eric, I spoke to I spoke to Larry this week. I saw my good friend Ismet Yagzi and Gerald Henry, of course, all our good friends at Warren Henry Automotive, treating me like family all week long last week. Took care of a little technical software glitch I had in my car. They made it run like it's tremendous. I just absolutely love the vehicle. Today's, we're going to do a business owner's handbook toolkit if you want to today. We're going to talk about understanding. We're going to talk about the business owner's survival guide to uncertainty, how to consult my notes. I use prep time on these things, believe it or not. So we're going to talk about business owner's survival guide to uncertainty. And the reality is that the biggest mistake business owners make isn't making the wrong prediction. It's building a business that only works if that prediction comes true. How true is that? How many people do you know that built a business only to not have the world happen for them? I know a lot of people in a lot of spaces and a lot of places that have made that mistake, and they're paying the price right now. I want to remind everybody you can watch today's show on all the different podcast platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're all there. If you miss anything today or any of the prior episodes, you can find them all on, again, all those podcast platforms. And, of course, I want to thank my friends at Miami Podcast Studios, who sits right over here, and also our friends at Carlson Integrated, who help us maintain and upgrade all of our stuff, all of our content, all of our methodologies. And now, on with the show. So, nobody really knows what's coming right now. If you asked everybody in real estate what was going to happen and you asked them 12 months ago, they would have said, well, interest rates are going to drop in 2026 and everything's going to be rosy. We'll be able to sell all our properties and make a profit, pay off all our limiteds, and put money in our pocket. Well, I got news for you. That didn't happen. They predicted that it would happen, but it didn't. Interest rates instead went up, making borrowing more expensive and the value of their properties less. So while they've got some great deals in the pipeline, some of which actually even pencil out, they can't get it going because while the banks are all there, the equity partners aren't. And where are the equity partners? They're locked in last cycle's deals, waiting for interest rates to drop so that they can get their money out. Most of today's sponsors in real estate are actually really working for debt relief and fees. Release of liabilities and fees. So, there's all kinds of things in play: interest rates, inflation, recession, AI, consumer confidence, labor markets. I said inflation. Boy, that price of food just is ridiculous. I went to the store the other day. It was just unbelievable. But what you've got to do is, if you want to build a business that lasts, build a business that works if your predictions do not come true. And I'm actually working with a number of people that are doing that. I'm really proud of that. And we'll talk more about that on future episodes. But right now, let's talk about interest rates for a second. What happens if interest rates fall? What happens if they stay higher? It impacts borrowing. It impacts values. It impacts acquisitions, expansions, consumer spending. I talked to a friend of mine that owns shopping centers just the other day. And they said, we're going to have to start selling our shopping centers. I go, why? The time doesn't seem to be right with rates so high. They go, well, our venture partner has timed the end of their fund and we have to get out. So the fund structure is creating an issue for them because they're making them time the investment, and the investment's it's not time to sell. What does that do to the sponsor? Well, the sponsor still makes fees, but they don't make their back end and their upside. So they got the deal done, they got the deal built, but they built their model so that it didn't really work when interest rates fluctuated and values fluctuated. It was a really bad situation for them, but what's going to happen to them? Well, they're going to reduce headcount and they're going to go on because the people just change them. They just evolve to survive. Most of the people that I do business with have been involved in business for 30, 35 years. In fact, I just read a new business plan where somebody talked about how they bought portfolios from the Resolution Trust Corporation, and that was 30-something years ago. A lot of people got rich at that point, by the way, including these folks. So the next question is, are we heading to a recession? Is the economy slowing? Is it normalizing? How do we prepare for weaker demand? The answer is, you batten down the hatches. You know, you don't need to really know whether or not the recession is coming. You do need to prepare and understand what happens to your business if the revenue drops 10, 20, or 30%. You can reduce costs, but you know, how do you really impact the top line and increase revenues? That takes a lot of creativity, a lot of patience, and a lot of staying power. The real solution in real estate is have dry powder and have the equity to put into a deal. Now, a lot of people are talking about AI. AI is going to take my job. I'm not going to get a job because of AI. I got news for you. AI is just another tool. I've used as my career's gone along, technology's changed and I've adapted, and so has the industry, and so do you too. Even a young person today needs to talk about AI. My young person that I mentored for years told me that they were going to go into be an economist and go into big data. They told me that about 5 years ago. I said, oh God, that puts me to sleep. Today, they're the employee of the year for their international financial firm. And they're moving and grooving, and they're using AI to build not only their business, but also their private sector holdings. So what you've got to do with AI is you've got to find a business that business model that's going to build into AI. I'll give you an example. Somebody told me, Jim, real estate's only for people under 40. Well, I'm obviously not under 40, but I am teaming up with people that are under 40, and I'm adding what I bring. They're adding what they bring, and together we'll move forward into the future, because not only do you need AI, but you also need the ability to impact people on an individual and personal basis. AI will give you the ideas. AI may suggest some things. But what AI does is it makes sure you're not forgetting something. You still need to be able to talk to people, work with people, overcome objections, and that's not all dictated by what ChatGPT or Claude really does. And oh, by the way, you know, those things don't come for free either. Now, there's also changes that are going on in consumer and demographic silos. You know, it's very interesting. People are talking about, well, there's not enough housing. There'll never be enough housing. Well, I got news for you. We're over the demographic hill, and soon there'll be too much housing. Well, it may not happen in my lifetime, but it will happen in my grandchildren's lifetime. And as far as all the federal deficits and all of the other programs that are going on, there will be structural changes needed. But the reality is that America is very well positioned to continue on as an economic force for many, many, many years to come and generations to come. If you're a young person, don't hang your head, hold it high, and just do the things that will be able to be valued in the future. Remember, don't think about something that's got to happen for you to be successful. Think about things that can work across the spectrum of things that could possibly happen. You know, another big thing you got to consider is don't necessarily confuse the fact that you're confident that things are going to happen with the certainty that they're going to happen. I've seen a lot of people do this. Business plans roll out. They seem to be absolutely in line with everything that's going on. You got the right capital source. You got the right business plan. You got the right infrastructure to implement the business plan. You got the right people around you to do the business plan. And then suddenly something happens. And you can't move the ship that you've created adequately and nimbly enough to take advantage of the change in the marketplace, because whenever there's a change in the marketplace, what does that do? Well, that creates a big advantage and a big opportunity. So you got to be flexible enough to take advantage of the opportunity. You have to marshal your resources and conserve them so that when the change in opportunity occurs, you can take advantage of it. Successful entrepreneurs are confident, but they're also flexible and open-minded. Too much confidence can create a problem because it gives you a blind spot. Got to be aware of the blind spot. In fact, every business owner should understand the assumptions that are behind their strategy and do a lot of scenario analysis, a lot of I hate the term, but game theory, game out what can happen in a bunch of different ways and be prepared for everything. Sometimes people that are in charge don't do that, and the ramifications are beyond costly. They become catastrophic. Now, you know, what do you ask? What happens if revenue grows 10%? What if interest rates go down? You know, what if consumers become confident? Well, things go up. You got to make sure you have the right access to the supply chain that you need for that. But if it goes down, how are you going to address that? What are you going to cut? Who are you going to cut? How are you going to cut? When are you going to cut? The more assumptions the strategy requires, the more fragile your business plan becomes because there's more things to go wrong. A good business plan is built on just a couple of pillars of information and a couple of pillars of execution and a couple of pillars of experience. All that wrapped together can give you the confidence and the comfort to move forward with your business plan. Make sure your plan can overcome a lot of the different scenarios that can occur, good case, base case, stress it. All the bankers do the stress analysis, and I guarantee you none of them are stressing for the interest rate rise that we've seen and that we may still see, given the fact that inflation is coming back for a variety of factors, most of which are black swan factors that we never anticipated. Again, financial flexibility is important. Marshal your resources. Keep your equity as tight and as high a level as you can, and invest it in assets that you can call. Cash is king in an uncertain time. Don't get seduced by the increases in I got to just say it, in cryptocurrency and in the stock market, because that can go up and that can go down. Cash stays constant. So, you got to make sure that you're not only prepared for upside and rather not only prepared for downside, but you have to be prepared for upside. How do you do that? You maintain your equity base so that you can take advantage of opportunities. I have a specific term that I use for it. It's called opportunistic capital. Make sure you have your opportunity capital available. Keep it in bonds, keep it in CDs, keep it at hand and be able to access it when the opportunity presents itself. So what should you do today to be ready to take action? Well, you got to make sure you understand what your biggest financial risk is, and there's a lot of other things you should be considering right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about my good friends at Warren Henry, and then we're going to come back with the bottom line. Miami Podcast Studios, are you ready to take it away? I'll tell you what my life is all about. My life is all about my friends at Warren Henry Automotive. Everybody's looking for a safe space. Warren Henry Automotive is a safe space for me. I go in there, I walk around, I talk to Larry, Ismet, Brandon, Gerald. Maybe you saw my post last week that I put up with my friend Gerald Henry, who made sure that my car works correctly. They checked it out. They found that I was having some problems. They found out that there was some missing parts. They went in, they fixed the part. They gave me a terrific loaner car. The loaner car showed me that, I've got a terrific car. The loaner car was terrific. I currently drive a hybrid. Let me tell you, it's not a plug-in, it's a hybrid. And the hybrid that I drive, that I got from Warren Henry, the Lincoln Hybrid, absolutely tremendous. It's like riding in a computer, riding in your living room. Yesterday, I went to the Marlins game, got there early. I watched YouTube on the center console thing. Yes, I'll admit it. I watched all these updates about the Gator football program. It was terrific. But the point is that Warren Henry Automotive, they help me stay prepared for whatever happens, and they can do the same thing for you. They make sure you get a great price on your vehicle, on your trade-in. They make sure that they arrange everything for you. Their service department is second to none. Again, high five to Gerald Henry on that. And so remember, when you're looking at, I forgot, they've got a great store down in the Keys that sells all their nameplates. They've got a store up at 151st and Biscayne that sells Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar, and Lincoln. That's where I go for mine. They've got some award-winning stores down in South Dade and West Broward that sell Land Rover and Range Rover. So no matter what car you need, they've got a solution to your transportation issues. Remember, always the best. Join me, my beautiful wife Vivian, my mom, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. You can reach out to me. I help high net worth investors, business people, small business people, private equity shops build and implement their business plan. I'm having a meeting on Wednesday with some folks that are looking to bring AI to the real estate business. Going forward, we'll talk to them and about what they're doing here on Freed on Business, probably after Labor Day. So I want to remind everybody, look for us on LinkedIn, LinkedIn, Facebook. I guess I'm on Twitter too. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, all the places you consume your podcasts. If you missed our live broadcast and want to see or want to rewatch it or see anything else we've done in the past, go to any of those places. You'll see all 884 episodes, thanks to Miami Podcast Studios and our friends at Carlson Integrated. Now, back to the practical checklist for what to do as you're planning your business plan and working hard to insulate yourself against the dynamic risk that every marketplace brings. First, ask yourself what your biggest three financial risks are. What happens if revenue falls 20%? How much liquidity do you really have, and what's your access to it? When does your debt mature? What does your debt cost? What assumptions do you depend on? What happens if interest rates stay high for 3 more years? Oh, God forbid. What happens if AI changes my industry faster than I expected? Well, that's happening. What's my biggest customer concentration risk? Oh, in real estate, it's only focusing on one product type, but a lot of these big legacy firms require you to do that, and they require you to do a business model that's slowly moving forward, but still kidding itself. Where could you cut costs without damaging your business? You better know that, because you got to push that button immediately sometimes. And if an incredible opportunity happened right now, could you take advantage of it? So what is the real bottom line here? The bottom line is this is all about leadership. Remember, you're the captain of the ship. People's families and lives depend on you to not only make the right decision today, but to be prepared for tomorrow. Because what happens today will impact tomorrow. But if you're not ready for tomorrow and you can't act on tomorrow, then tomorrow will come and run you over. Remember, reach out to me, look for me, call me, send me questions, send me text. A great example for real estate is every product type is in a different place in its life cycle. The favored nation today happens to be retail, but retail's hard to capitalize for a variety of reasons. We'll talk about that on a future podcast. Remember, the person that wants to do something finds a way, the other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Miami Podcast Studios, it's your chance to shine.